Well, this is an incredible story. A camper who was stranded nearly 5 weeks ago in a national forest has now been rescued by two brothers who were out hiking. The search for Carolyn Dorn had been called off officially more than 2 weeks ago. So how did she survive? My next guest is a survival expert. He has literally traveled all over the globe trying to unlock some of the world's biggest archaeological mysteries. His travels have taken him to the top of the tallest Maya pyramid in Guatemala, to the deep depths of Egypt's caves and tombs. Josh Bernstein is the star of the History Channel's hit show, Digging for the Truth. He's also the author of Digging for the Truth, One Man's Epic Adventure, exploring the world's greatest archaeological mysteries. Josh, everybody's pretty much agreed that you have about the best job going out there.
Until you should read the book, and then you can decide.
I've been reading the book.
Great, but it's been hard.
It's been hard.
Yeah.
You know, I want to get your thoughts first on Carolyn Dorn and how she was able to survive out there. What do you think? You know, obviously she needs water to last that long, but how do you think she made it?
Well, I have to say I'm not as familiar with this as many people because I've been traveling. But if she made it 5 weeks, obviously she was rationing her food and being very cautious with her water. And usually you can make it 72 hours, a week, but once you get into the 5-week mark, she obviously did a lot of things right.
And you obviously run BOSS, the Boulder Outdoor Survival School. How do you teach people about surviving mentally? Assuming that you have the tools that you need to stay alive, how do you keep yourself sane when you have that possibility that nobody may ever come?
That's certainly a big issue, the mental obstacle, preparing yourself. If you had the ability to make any kind of preparations before, a lot of the deaths that we saw this past winter could have been prevented if people had planned a little differently, had a few other tools in perhaps their backpacks or in their cars. I think that some technical training is necessary, and then mental training is critical.
Like what? When you think about James Kim or the Mount Hood climbers, what do you wish they had with them?
Well, the climbers were experienced, and I think you always have to plan for some bad weather. So it's hard to speak in that case because we don't really know what happened. I think he dislocated his shoulder. The Kim is such a tragedy because he left the car and his wife and kids survived. I think in a whiteout, if you're in a vehicle, you typically want to stay. I think it was only desperation that got him out of the car.
Right. You know, your own story is very interesting. You grew up here in New York City, not far from where we are. You went to Horace Mann, very sort of privileged upbringing. Yeah. What drove you to kind of push your limits by stepping out of that rather comfortable environment and putting yourself in really dangerous situations?
I think it was the fact that it was a comfortable environment, and I knew that there was more to life and more to adventure than just the privileged lifestyle of Horace Mann on the Upper East Side. I wanted to challenge myself physically. That's what got me to BOSS the first time. And then certainly for the show, we've embraced that quality where every single episode of Digging for the Truth has to have, like, sort of set the bar just a little bit higher in terms of adventure.
Have you been in situations where you thought, I've gone too far, this might not turn out well?
Yeah. Well, I always knew it would turn out well, but maybe not comfortably. And certainly throughout the 3 years of very aggressive travel, there have been moments, whether it's in the Alps, in Austria, hiking into winter storms, or swimming in shark-infested waters in Easter Island, or rappelling into Vesuvius. There's a lot of risky moments, but our job, and my job specifically as host, is to survive and bring that story to the viewer.
Hey, tell me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but you know, were you worried that growing up the way you grew up that you might become too soft? Do you think as a people we're becoming too soft? And you know, some people say that these kind of programs, you know, are kids just trying to challenge themselves in a world where they don't really have that much adversity, at least in this country at this moment.
There's some validity there. I think that we as Americans have lost many of the rites of passage that our ancestors went through. Right. We don't really have physical challenges anymore, which is why I was so drawn to BOSS. Because we force people to be pushed outside their comfort zone. It's not a lot of fun, but it's very worthwhile.
You know, one of the things that fascinates me in the book,
and it can be fun. It depends on, you know, your perspective.
Is your exploration of Stonehenge. Just give us, you know, one sort of thought of what it was like being there. There's a picture, I don't know if we have it, a photograph, there it is, of you, and it's a misty morning, and it's a mystical place. Just give us some insight into that trip.
This was one of the best days of season 2, and certainly a magical moment for me because we're here. I think we got there around 4 a.m. before the crowds were allowed access to the site. And because it's the History Channel and because of my role, I was allowed to actually walk in amongst the stones, which is a very special feeling. To sense the antiquity and the majesty of these stones, to see the fog sort of work its way through and then disappear. And then I came back for the equinox, which was just a wonderful experience in the early morning.
So just a real quick question. Some people are sort of trying to give up BlackBerries and all the kind of technology. You live sort of in both worlds, in Utah and in New York. Any thoughts on, you know, sort of backing out of the technology that we've gotten ourselves so linked into?
I think technology is helpful. It certainly can improve the speed of business. I don't know if it always improves the quality of our lifestyle, and that's the BOSS message for us. It's like, it's okay to have the GPSs and the modern gear and to go hiking in the wilderness or just even our modern day lives, but don't forget where we came from. It's important to understand the source of all this.
Good message, and we'll look forward to the next series and the book as well. The series starts on January 22nd on the History Channel, and we'll be watching. Thank you very much, Josh.
My pleasure.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
All right, well, as we remember today,